Happy Friday. Yes, it is Friday, the last Friday of 2018. So come on in, pull up a chair, because the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Today is Friday, January 28th. As I mentioned in the open, it's the last Friday of the year. This is actually going to be the last episode of The Daily Dope for 2018. Ooh. Not too shabby. This is episode number 220. 220 episodes this year, folks. Not too bad. And in fact, when I first started the show, I rolled out kind of a soft rollout and did, I want to say 3 episodes in late December of 2017. So hopefully things have kind of improved over the past year. I know technically the show has gotten better, and I make far fewer mistakes as far as messing around with different slides and videos and things like that I share. So, all right, you know, you do stuff enough times, you finally start getting used to it, right? And, you know, kind of, guess rubs off on you a little bit. I almost said wears off on you a little bit. That would not make a whole lot of sense. So anyway, welcome aboard. Today I'm actually going to be taking a first look. I'm going to do an unboxing and take a first look at the second edition of Nemo's War from Victory Point Games. I have a very soft spot in my heart for Victory Point Games, and I'll explain why when I jump into the unboxing. And do want to point out, no news again today. So few things going on. Once again, really busy day. I had a cardiovascular rehab again this afternoon, and it ran a little bit later than usual. But also, I had to go run and pick up some prescriptions, and I find out that I have to go run over to keep an eye on the kids tonight, my niece and nephew. So, yeah, so no news. Got to be honest, too. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of, like, really earth-shattering news the past few days either. I do want to point out that there is a 3 cool bundles of holding going on right now. So if you are an RPG fan, and hey, for those of you who tuned in for my review of Forbidden Lands last night, thank you very much. I guess it's gone over pretty well. People are digging that video, so can't blame them, because I gotta be honest, the box set is awesome. I gave it a 9.7 out of 10. But I was going to say, if you're a fan of role-playing games, of course, I'm not talking about anything from Modifius or Free League Publishing. I'm talking about Cubicle 7 Entertainment. My good friends across the pond at C7 have 3 bundles of holding going on right now. One is for Doctor Who. Very, very cool. Their Doctor Who role-playing game. A bunch of stuff for that. You can save loads of money on the PDFs. Also, I believe it's the One Ring and Adventures in Middle-earth. So by all means, there's only a couple days left, I think. I do not believe that the bundle of holding for Cubicle 7, any one of those is going to run longer than through the weekend. So I pointed that out for you. Be sure to check that out. All right, so anyway, do want to point out this is a live stream. I know a vast majority of people watch after the fact. So, but if you are watching live on YouTube, there is chat available. So it is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the stranger commenters at bay. But I do pay attention to it. So if you want to say hello, or if you have a question, or maybe you want to see something about the second edition of Nemo's War a little closer up, or ask about maybe the first edition, by all means, chime in and I will respond. Do want to also point out, if you like the video, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you enjoy the channel, please subscribe. For some strange reason, I always get like one person who gives a thumbs down on the videos. I don't know. It's weird. It is very weird. Rarely do I get more than one thumb down. I don't know. You know, I mean, I understand. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but you know, it's just strange that the vast majority of videos, when I do get a negative, it's only one. And I know my best friend Elliot Miller over at Voice of E, when he, unfortunately, he hasn't done any videos since like March. He still plays games, because he still plays games with me on occasion. We haven't been playing a whole lot lately, but he would get like the same like 3 or 4 people who would thumb down his videos all the time. And I guess he was finding out through IP addresses or something. I didn't think you could do that on YouTube, to be honest. But they also weren't in the U.S. either, so I thought that was kind of strange. For some reason, I want to say it was like the Czech Republic or something. Don't know. I have no idea. I don't worry about it too much. I just find it very strange when, you know, just like there's one person who's like, hate this. Might have 17 thumbs up, and I don't get tons of thumbs up. That gosh, what is it? Maybe 5% of the viewers leave any kind of response, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down, what have you, which is cool. I mean, I'm not begging for thumbs ups or you know, positive recognition or anything like that, but I just find it strange. It's usually like one person like, eh. Now watch this video, we'll get more than one. It'll get more than one thumbs down. All right, anyway, so I'm sure people are tuning in because they want to check out the second edition of Nemo's War from Victory Point Games. This has been out for a bit. This came out, oh, yeah, I think about 1.5 years ago. The game is designed, whoa, what is going on here? For crying out loud, Jeff. Hey, so I was talking about yesterday's show, how I reviewed Forbidden Lands. Okay, let me just switch. I downloaded the right stuff and then completely zoned. So here I was just talking about on the show how, hey, I don't have problems with doing slides, everything, you know, usually don't have any mistakes. Bang, right there. That's what happens. That's what happens when you start patting yourself on the back. Your hand falls off. Anyway, Nemo's War 2nd Edition is from Victory Point Games. As I mentioned, I believe it came out about 1.5 years ago. It has been out of print. It's designed by Chris Taylor with artwork provided by Ian O'Toole. This is a solitaire game. It does have options for more than a single player, so I believe the options are for 4 players in a cooperative mode. It's for ages 13 and up, plays in between 1 and 2 hours. You will have a bit of a difficult time finding Nemo's War right now, I think. There are still people selling Nemo's War because it carries an MSRP of $75. I'm also going to be taking a look at the little expansion pack as well. I have seen it on like Amazon for like $90 some because I don't think a lot of brick and mortar stores, friendly local game stores, or online retailers have it in stock. I think it has sold out for most places. Now, that being said, do want to mention I got a copy myself, so they can't all be gone, right? So I did receive a copy of Nemo's War. We're going to switch on over to the other camera here. All right, come on. There we go. So, as I was saying, I've got a copy of it. So I believe it's making its way back into stores, back into distribution. So, all right. So as I started off today's show, I mentioned that I have a soft spot for Victory Point games. I do. I have played loads and loads of Victory Point games over the years, mainly when they were kind of desktop published games that came in Ziploc bags. I have shown those off before on occasion, how the games came. And I gotta say, I liked the first edition of Nemo's War. I liked it quite a bit. And I mentioned this on, I believe it was yesterday's show. I myself and the gaming gang were one of, I think, 3 websites and reviewers from whatever websites who actually reviewed the first edition of Nemo's War, because back in the day, Victory Point Games just didn't, their components just didn't blow anybody away. Like I said, it was almost like desktop published games, but the gameplay was the thing. That was the tagline. The gameplay's the thing for Victory Point Games, and they had really great playing games. They still do. Don't let me make you think that they don't. But that was something that, if you looked past, the map quality or board, it wasn't even board. It was, paper maps, paper boards, the counters, things like that. If you could look past that, you would find some really good games. And they did quite a lot of war games, but a lot of other different games too. One of my all-time favorite games, Dawn of the Zeds. That's from Victory Point Games. I think, I'm trying to remember if that's, I think that's going to Kickstarter for another edition, or it just did that. Hey, Paul Nolan's popping in. Good evening, Paul. Welcome aboard. Wet my whistle here. So, kind of dry down here again. It's all, why do I say that? It's always dry down here in the Duct Tape Studios. So I'm going to throw on the old reading specs. So, Nemo's War, this is 2nd edition. This is going to be top notch. I have heard nothing but good things about it. I'm going to take a guess that we will not see a whole lot of changes as far as the actual gameplay that I really, really dug about the first edition. All right, so carve out your own 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas. Nemo's War is an adventure game of underwater exploration and combat circa 1870. You are Captain Nemo, commander of the magnificent Nautilus. The magnificent Nautilus! An underwater vessel beyond compare. You will search the wild seas, combat vessels of all nations, brave the hazards of the deep, find mysterious treasures, behold and chronicle amazing wonders, and travel around the world in your quest for knowledge and vengeance. Nemo's War is based on the novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. It's available for free from Project Gutenberg. There you go. Sweet. That would be the novel, not this game. All right, so let's get the shrink wrap on off of this. This box has some pretty good heft. Oh, and right here it's pointing out that it features solo gameplay with a 2 to 4 player co-op variant. So it is a solitaire game. That's how I played it when I played the first edition. Okay, so have to point out, I'm not sure for those of you watching the video, but I have to laugh because there are a lot of people who think, and okay, I will admit, when I was a kid and I was at Disney World and I was on the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride, I thought 20,000 Leagues was you were down at a depth of 20,000 leagues, which would be, what is that? Isn't a league something like 3 miles? So that would be 60,000 miles under the sea, which would be impossible. So the actual title 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas means that the protagonists in there's Ned and I'm trying to remember the protagonists of the novel actually travel that amount of distance under the ocean, under the waves. All right, so let's get rid of that for a second. So we got game rules. Looks like, whoa, looks like we got a good amount, maybe 30 pages or so. Oh, look at that, 31. 31 pages, so let's take a look through here. Got the introduction talking about the game equipment and the map, ship tokens, the different adventure cards, navies of the Age of Steam, Okay, so I have to admit, there have been quite a few different versions of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or at least there have been different, I guess I should say there's been different performances as Captain Nemo. In my opinion, and yes, I understand it is not historically accurate to the book, because if I remember correctly, isn't Nemo from India? Almost positive he's from India. But I have to say, nobody is Nemo in my book outside of James Mason from the Disney movie. And I know, yeah, it's a Disney movie, so it's not as gritty as it could be, as the book actually kind of is. But yeah, James Mason is just, to me, he's Nemo. He's just, James Mason was just a special kind of actor. Just had that voice that, you know, just would do it for you. All right, so we're looking at the goodies here. We got the different components. So we've got upgrade cards, character resource tiles. We do have a miniature of the Nautilus, which we'll be taking a look in a second. Gemstones. Okay, that's different. Treasure victory points. Okay, ship resource markers. Talking about the game setup. Okay, so once again, this hasn't changed. You're going to actually build the deck. So you're going to build the adventure deck. One thing I do recall in the first edition was that you could actually sit there and the cards were numbered. So if you put them in numerical order, you would actually play the game through, you know, like a linear passage through the novel itself. Of course, you could shuffle the cards up and have everything be random, but if you put them all in numerical order, then you were actually playing through Jules Verne's novel. We got the game set. We're showing the board here. Victory Point Games usually does this with their rule books. They usually have kind of a splash page that shows everything all laid out. I always dig that when companies do that. Kind of funny though, every once in a while you run across a game that doesn't show you, like, how do you set up the game? I mean, it'll have like little images and stuff, but there isn't like a big like splash page showing, okay, so this is what this should look like when you're getting ready to play. So definitions and conventions, the dice. One aspect of the game I recall is that there are a multitude of ways that you can lose. There are also different ambitions or motivations, I guess we'll say, for Captain Nemo. So you could have Captain Nemo being more of an explorer. You could have him more like he is in the novels. He's destroying warships. He's waging war on the surface world to stop war. I know that kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? So you've got various different aspects of Nemo's personality that you can focus on to make the game kind of your own. Also, there are a lot of different ways for you to lose the game. So the Nautilus can lose its like hit points, basically. Nemo can go insane. So you have to kind of juggle a bunch of stuff. So we see here like, oh, like notoriety. If I remember correctly, I think as Nemo's notoriety goes up, the navies of the world start hunting the Nautilus down. So just showing how to play the game. We've got the action phase, talking about action points. As with many of the Victory Point game titles over the years that utilize action points, I'm going to tell you right now, unfortunately, you never have enough action points for what you want to get done. That is pretty much par for the course for many Victory Point games. So talking about repairs, retrofits, there are talking about adventure cards, talking about attacking, talking about combat, how warships attack the Nautilus. There's actually a section on the board for you to track the ships that you've sunk, kind of like tracking your tonnage. So we've got, oh cool, we got a cool combat example here. Sweet. Emergency help, how the game ends, defeat, victory, and scoring. I like how they're throwing defeat in there first. Hey. Adjusting victory points for Nemo's motive. Yeah, there you go. It's his motive. I think the little expansion pack has upgrades for the Nautilus. Now, if I remember correctly, and I might be wrong, I think that in the new edition here, that there's one motivation less, one motivation fewer than there had been in the first edition, because I think there was actually there was a Kickstarter very recent, just finished not long ago, for 2 more expansion packs for Nemo's War, and it's successfully funded. And if I remember correctly, I think one of the expansion packs was one of Nemo's motives, and I think it was Explorer. But in the first edition, now it's been a long time since I played, but I could swear in the first edition there was a motive for exploration, so I am not positive. Okay, so now we've got epilogues. I'm going to take a guess. This might be where you tally up your victory points depending on your motive. Yeah, here we go. Level of victory. If you score fewer than 185 points, it's defeat. So it's basically just kind of showing you, sharing some artwork here, and talking about, yeah, so okay, so here we go. So for an example, here's war. So it's given us little about a paragraph of the kind of like wrapping up the story, like it says here, epilogues. So we've got science. I remember that one. Oh, okay, so here is exploration. Maybe they're new exploration cards? All right, so we got exploration, and then, yeah, okay, anti-imperialism. All right, so there are the 4. So maybe I was incorrect. Maybe I'm wrong. I am the first to admit when I'm, I'm not sure about something. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to tell you these counters are going to be much slicker and cooler than they were in the first edition of the game. So we're showing some of the different shipping. And we actually have the names of the various different ships. So we've got, oh, that's cool too, because it's showing us the nationality, the nation of origin for the ships. So we see we've got the U.S., we've got Great Britain, we've got France. There's actually looks like there's a Russian ship. Oh, that's pretty cool. Very cool. That tells us what they are. We've got freighters, we've got mail ships, we've got passenger ships, slave ship, the Mary Celeste. That's wild. That's pretty cool. So Nemo can find the Mary Celeste, the ghost ship. Let's figure out, is that Canadian? Is it the Canadian flag there? Back in the day? I'm not sure. All right, so then we've got monsters. Then we've got raiders, ironclads can go after them, armored frigates, and they are dual-sided as well. So wait a second. Oh, wow. So these are all different ships on the back, too. Sweet. Very cool. Nicely done. Very nicely done. Okay, and then we've got, looks like some targeting counters here. We've got, looks like these are tracking counters up top, because there's a lot of different things you're going to track on the board. So we've got even more ships. Even more ships here. So we've got some more tracking tokens. It's like that might be for victory points, the purple right there. ×1 ×10 plus 100 plus 200 plus 300. Got all of those. Deadly Seas. Well. Okay, so more punch boards here. These might be exploration. That's a possibility here. Oh, so okay, so we've got little punch boards for the various the different motives. That's cool. I like that. Okay, so there you go. So we've got the Professor, Ned Land, Conceal, Second Officer, First Officer, Chief Engineer. So Second Officer, First Officer, and Chief Engineer don't get names. You know what? I don't recall if they did have names in the book or not. It's been a long, long time since I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas. So, got the board here. Let's take a look at the board. I believe this is going to be a pretty good size. Yeah, it is a pretty good size. So I am going to try to zoom out a bit. I'm sure I'm not going to get this whole thing in, but I will attempt to zoom out a little bit. Got to move my drink here. Wow, this is nice. This is nice. Yeah, okay, so that didn't help a whole lot. Okay, so you're going to take your cards. We got a draw pile here, pass, fail. Got down here, it's adventure test modifiers. So pretty much, for the most part, just about any of the rules that you're going to need to refer to are going to be on this board. I do recall that there were like little paper boards that you kind of connected together in the first edition. So this is where you're tracking. Here's the different ways you can be defeated, right? So you've got Nemo is broken. I want to say it's like his spirit's broken, but he kind of loses his mind. We've got the crew. If you lose all of the crew, if you basically allow them to sink the Nautilus, if your notoriety gets to a certain level, because basically what that means is that the nations of the world have united to send their navies out to sink the Nautilus. So we get a little action track point here. We've got the different areas, the different oceans of the world. So we've got the Western Pacific, South Pacific, Central Pacific, Pacific Coast, Arctic Ocean, North Atlantic, Eastern Pacific, Cape Horn, South Atlantic, European Seas, Cape of Good Hope, and the Indian Ocean. And you'll see that we've got these little lines that will connect them together. So for an example, down here, let's try to get a little further down to the bottom. Down here, the Indian Ocean actually will connect to the Western Pacific. So you see we've got these. So it shows here, legend, connected for placement and movement. Then we got diagonal lines. It says connected for placement only. Then we've got these red lines, and it says connected for incite actions only. So, for an example, in the anti-imperialism motive for Nemo, what Nemo's looking to do is he's trying to get these subjugated races, nations, to rise up against their oppressors. Like I said, Nemo was supposed to be of Indian descent. So then we've got the turn sequence here. We've got collected treasures. We've got the adventure deck here. Here we show the motives, which this kind of looks sort of like the punch board there. So you may just need to just lay your punch board, your motive board here, and it might break that down for you. Here's this is where you should be probably keeping track of your there you go, tonnage track. So this is the tonnage of ships that you have sunk. And we got discarded ship tokens. Looks like this is probably our victory point tracker over here, maybe, because this is the notoriety tracker up here. So that's that. All right. So, and it is a single-sided board. It's not dual-sided. No reason for it to be dual-sided. All right, there we go. We got another, got a little punch board here. Yielding, seizing the captaincy. Huh. That is something new. That was not something that was in the original game. The captain. This must be more along the lines for the cooperative multiplayer. All right, so then we've got a little mini of the Nautilus. All right. I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's just not very deeply cut. You could paint it, but it's just not super detailed. I honestly thought it was a little more detailed when I've seen photos of it, but that's okay. It didn't even need to be a miniature. It could have just been a counter. Okay, so we've got a deck of cards here. We got a few decks, actually. I'll be looking at those in just a sec. So we've got some wooden cubes. We got wood and wooden color, kind of a beige, right? And then we got gray. We've got one that says A on it. Almost looks like an open book with that A. Now we got a black one here. Oh, wow. It's got like a little skull and crossbones on it right there. So we've got those. Got some dice. So we've got 3 white, 2 black dice. Okay, so here's something I got to point out. When you're playing a solitaire game, don't cheat. Don't fudge the dice rolls. Come on. I know the temptation can be there, especially when the dice gods are not on your side that night. You might be tempted to, well, let me re-roll this one more time. Don't do that. I mean, just don't do that. You're ruining the fun of the design. Plus, another thing too is if you're fudging die rolls and stuff, you're never going to find out, is this a good design? Is this a broken design? Because not that I'm saying Nemo's War is broken. I've played the first edition, really liked it. But if you cheat during a solitaire game, you're never going to know how effective that design is because you're not playing the game the way it's meant to be played. And there have been some solitaire games that were just way too luck dependent. And, I've pointed that out in the past. Not that they were horrible games, but just little too much of the luck dependency. And I like chaos. I like luck. But I don't like games where if I'm planning well, that everything just keeps falling apart because I'm rolling bad dice. Right, these look like these are the gemstones, so looks like we've got different kinds of gems. I remember in the first edition, you can be, as an explorer, you can go find different things, different cool like relics and stuff like that. And these are probably treasures of some sort. I don't remember gems in the first edition. All right, so now let's just take the hobby knife. Open this on up. I always make sure that I put the cap back on my hobby knife because I don't want to be wearing the blade. Okay, so here we got some co-ops. We got some co-op cards, so we'll put that there. Here's the Nautilus upgrades, which we already know we've got more Nautilus upgrades in this expansion, which is the last thing we'll take a look at. Okay, here are the adventure cards. Pretty nice card stock, pretty thick, pretty solid card stock. I will point out, this is a game that you're going to want to sleeve your cards because you're going to be going through these decks quite often, especially if this is going to make it to your table quite a bit. And this is a really good game. I mean, the first edition, like I said, I really enjoyed it. From what I'm looking at in the rules and the components of that, it doesn't look like anything's radically changed. There's the cooperative. That's a little different. All right, so it looks as if once again we have the opportunity to put these in order. Now you are going to build the deck. You're not just going to shuffle these cards all willy-nilly and just have one big deck. You do have different acts, as we see in the rule book, and it talks about how to build your decks for each of those acts, each part of the game. But yes, this is kind of like the opening here. So then we'll have a test. It'll tell you what you're testing, and then you're looking if you get a pass, if you pass your test, or if you fail. And usually it's, if I remember correctly, you were rolling 2 dice. You're looking to try to get over a certain number, kind of like, like a difficulty number in role-playing game kind of things. So if I remember correctly, okay, so then we've got some we're just telling you what the event is. At full steam. Do no harm. So originally, okay, so we've got, these are finale cards here. Okay, so event 45. I don't remember if there were that many cards. Yeah, I think there were. I think there were that many cards. I think there were 45 or so in it. So we've got all the various pretty cool artwork. We've got a little bit of artwork. We got some flavor text, and then it tells us, okay, so what's going on? What do we need to do? So you're not always drawing adventure cards. Sometimes, you know, you're moving into a location, or you've got different ships that are hunting the Nautilus that you kind of move around, things like that. So you're doing more than just drawing these adventure cards. So then we got these co-op role. Officer of the deck, purser, tactical officer, executive officer. So it's kind of telling us what you're in charge of. So there's quite a few copies of the purser here. So, oh, okay, so I get it. All right, so if you're playing two players, one player is the captain, the other is the tactical officer. So if you're gonna have three players, now you're gonna kind of this. I'm guessing, I'm not positive. Now you're breaking it down like this. If you have four players, you're gonna break it down like this. So you're gonna have these four roles. I'm sure simply all you got to do is kind of shuffle these up a little bit. Everybody picks a card. Boom, that's your role for the game. So that's the co-op. Then we got Nautilus upgrades. We've got Hydro Drive, Strengthened Prow for ramming. So, Double Hull, Reinforced Armor, Steam Torpedoes. I remember those as an upgrade in the first edition game. Fog Machine, that I don't remember. Arcane Library. Oh, what is the Necronomicon in there? Periscope Device. Monstrous Design. Okay, I remember that too. Where it's in fact in the book, and of course in the Disney movie, everybody thinks it's a monster that's attacking the shipping in that. So that's where the monstrous design comes in here. And then we've got electro-powered crew armor. Okay, so we've got these cards here. Now we got a little Victory Point Games Premier Line catalog. And some baggies for the different counters. Okay, so let's open up this little expansion. All right, you, come on. Don't make me bust out. Well, I guess I will. Because I don't want to accidentally tear a card in here. So, there we go. So I'm wondering if we've got like a little... Come on, you. Open up this way. There. Okay. So it does have like a little rule book for it. This expansion pack includes 12 new Nautilus upgrade cards. There are different ways to add them to your deck of Nautilus upgrade cards, all of which apply after purchasing or not your motive upgrade card during setup step 3. Okay, so it's just kind of talking about how are you going to include these in the game. So Nautilus upgrades, we've got the Adventurers League. Was that supposed to be League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? I wonder if that's what that's supposed to be. Nemo Prism Binoculars, Clockwork Cipher, Crystalline Sensors, Electric Horns. Playing horns at sea to communicate was an ancient tradition from the conch to the bugle. Electrocoil bolts. Isn't that what they use on the giant squid? I could have swore they used that on the giant squid. Or maybe I'm wrong. Guild's deck. Nemo's Manifesto. Nemo's cell batteries. the officer's mess, prize crew quarters, and Nemo's Sanctorum. Dun, da, da, da. Okay, so I'm going to keep these separate by putting them over here. As you can see, the little insert here has enough room for quite a few more cards. Probably about maybe 15 or so. And you got plenty of space over here too. So lots of room for other expansions as well. Okay, so we've got the various decks of cards. We've got the little Nemo's War expansion. We've got a small punch board full of counters there. We've got the really cool board. We've got 3 full-size counter sheets. I call them counter sheets. I know a lot of people are like punch board. To me, I'm old school, right? To me, it's still a counter sheet. You got the epilogues with some artwork in that telling us how well or how poorly we've done based on our motive, as well as the 32-page rule book. And that is what we find when we take everything from Nemo's War, 2nd edition, from Victory Point Games, outside the box. Of course, I am going to have a review of Nemo's War in the very near future. Not next week, but I will have it a week after that. So, because, for one, it's solitaire, baby. I don't have to wait around for any of the gang to be able to play it. Plus, well, granted, it has been a while since I played the 1st edition, but I still do remember good chunks of it, so it won't be real hard to jump back into it. Anyway, so just want to let you know what's cooking on next week's shows. So on Monday and Tuesday, I will be off. I was kind of up in the air, and it was so funny because on Wednesday's show, I kept talking about how, well, you know, I don't think there's going to be a show on New Year's Day. And I kept saying, New Year's Day, New Year's Day. And here I meant to say New Year's Eve. Yeah, sometimes I just ramble on. I don't know, like my brain's not completely firing on all cylinders. But I am not going to have a show on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. So I will be back on Wednesday, which will be January 2nd. So I guess I can say I'll see you next year. But on Wednesday's show, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Australia from Stronghold Games. I like to do war games on Wednesdays, and this kind of is a war game. There is some conflict in this game because you're fighting against Cthulhu and his minions. Pretty sweet. I am looking forward to checking this out, so I'm going to unbox this and take a first look. This has some pretty good heft to this box, too, I have to point out. I can tell right now, there is really no empty air in that box. Then, on Thursday, because Thursdays are RPGs on the Daily Dope, I am going to take a look at 3 new releases for Torg Eternity, all having to do with the Living Lands. So I have the GM screen, I have the Living Lands source book, and I also have the Delphi missions for Living Land. These successfully kickstarted not too long ago. They're from Ulysses North America, and I think it's over. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Kickstarter for the Nile Empire has finished, or it might have a couple more days, just a few more days left to it. I think Torg Eternity is really wild, a very gonzo kind of setting. So I am very excited to dive into that. I think on Thursday, I'm also going to kind of talk about, I might not do news on Thursday and spend a little bit of time talking about 5 role-playing games that are coming out in 2019 that I am pretty excited to check out. And I'll give you a hint. One of them, which is supposed to come out next year, I'm not positive if it will or not, but it's supposed to, is Dune from Modiphius Entertainment. Pretty cool. So I'm definitely hoping to get a glance at that. So I think I'm going to talk about 5 RPGs that I'm really excited to see in 2019, as well as share the new Toward Eternity releases. Then on Friday, I'm going to take a look at a rather cool looking fantasy deck building game called Shadow Rift. This is from Starling Games, I think Starling Games is actually releasing this, because there is absolutely no company info on this box. So I'm 99% positive that the Kickstarter for the expansion to Shadow Rift that was just out, that was just running, was being run from Starling Games. Just kind of weird that there's no Starling Game imprint stamp. You know, there's no logo on the game box. So, but I've heard some interesting things about Shadow Rift. So I will definitely check that out. I'm sure the gang's going to dig it too, because they all like deck builders. I'm a big fan of deck builders too. Good deck builders, that is. So that's what's going to be on next week's shows. That's it for today's show. As I like to always point out, if you are not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back on Wednesday. So have a wonderful weekend. Have a great New Year's Eve. Be safe. Don't want to hear any crazy stories about something happening to folks on New Year's Eve. Slapped. Pinky just kind of walked off. Pinky's one of the cats, right? She just came strolling like in the corner of my eye, and I was like, huh? Like she was like right in my peripheral vision, and that threw me off. Anyway, everybody have a lot of fun on New Year's Eve. Don't get too crazy though. And of course, I will be back next Wednesday, January 2nd. So until then, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you liked this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.